I doubt whether even a questionnaire went round for us to be asked whether the last cover was a wrong cover, what challenges we faced for us to get a new cover. But more importantly, as I end, Madam Speaker, to ask the Commission to come and give us some awareness on how we have to handle this cover, but also to start thinking through that Parliament can also have its own cover. I know the staff have their own cover. I think it is important for members to have their own cover, a cover we can create ourselves, and it will help members beyond being in this house and even when they leave this house. They can save their monies there, and it can be their cover even after, so that we don't face the challenges our brothers and sisters are facing today who have been in this house, and we can also support them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I think that will be taken up by the Welfare Committee, Members' Welfare Committee. And in conjunction with the Public Service Commission. The Honorable Yusuf Hassan Kamkunji, you also have an intervention.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I just wanted to raise an incident that happened in my constituency yesterday that I think is a matter of urgency that needs attention. A group of multi-agency undercover operatives have put their focus on the business district of Isli and have targeted wholesale shops trading in milk products, and more specifically powder milk. They have since January created carried out raids on shops, arresting traders. Yesterday, these heavily armed security agents carried out what looked like a commander anti-terror attack operation, disrupting business in the crowded Isli business hub, eventually closing down the business district's activity along First Avenue, which is one of the busiest trading areas in the country, and causing business losses running into the millions. These security agents have refused to identify themselves. They did not have a search warrant and used brute force to vandalize and break into the shops of individuals and private businesses. And when a crowd who were curious gathered outside this particular place, they started terrorizing the population, firing live bullets into the air, and eventually calling in reinforcement of police, who tear gassed a densely populated neighborhood with hospitals, schools, elderly people, women and children. They collected an unspecified and undocumented goods without leaving any documentation or signed inventories of the confiscated items. No accountability. This says a lot about the behavior of those officials, which I think is contrary to the rules of the National Police Service, which operates under our constitutional mandate, and to behave with total impunity and operate above the law. We have border controls, Madam Speaker. We have the KRA, we have CAPS, we have other institutions trusted with the control of our borders. Isli is not an island. The question I'm asking is, have our border control system collapsed? Why are they going around harassing citizens who are going about their own businesses, law-abiding citizens? Why are they refusing to accept documents and receipts that have been provided by the Kenya Revenue Authority, CAPS, and other relevant authorities? Why are the police who are coming into these premises not upholding the rule of law? So I wanted to say we are very concerned about this as a member of Parliament for this particular neighborhood, and I want the police, Inspector General and the Ministry of Interior to look at this particular issue and to stop the harassment and the intimidation of the traders in this neighborhood. Madam Speaker, I'm also seeking your guidance in terms of how more effectively we can hold certain sections of our police to the rules in which they operate, because I think this is above the normal thing. The other thing is that they are looking for milk powder milk. I just want to know whether powder milk has now become a prohibitive item that should not be stored in the shops in our country. Because if that is the case, then the government should issue a statement to say that particular types of milk powders are prohibited and cannot be stocked and sold in our shops and in our country. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to raise this particular issue.
Thank you very much. And again, even though that's in the Hansard, you better give a more formal statement to the Internal Security Committee. Next order.
Order number 8.
The only person I can see was, you have a point of order? Okay, what's your point of order, Majority Leader?
Honorable Speaker, I was listening to the Honorable Yusuf and just listen to what you said, so it's not clear because the chair, Internal Security, is not in the House, whether you have directed that he avails a formal statement or the Honorable Yusuf to do a formal statement that can then be responded to. And I think, Honorable Speaker, if I listened to Honorable Yusuf carefully, there are also issues that touch on agriculture, especially on the import and sale of powder milk. So I don't know, Honorable Speaker, if you make it clear whether the Honorable Yusuf is to do a formal statement or the chairs to respond. And because listening to Honorable Yusuf, it's a matter that also touches on agriculture. And Honorable Speaker, as much as powder milk is not banned in this country, there have to be licensed importers of powder milk, because our farmers and all the members of Parliament who represent farmers will tell you farmers suffer immensely when powder milk is imported into this country illegally and is reconstituted into liquid milk that is then sold and brings down the prices of milk. And I think the government has been very keen on ensuring that our milk market is not distorted by milk that is powder milk that is being imported, especially from European countries, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, as much as I sympathize with the member for Kamukunji and the issues that have been raised on touching on the police and their conduct, probably it's something that the member for Kamukunji would advise now does a formal statement so that the ministers responsible can respond, so that those in agriculture, the Minister for Agriculture can respond, or the Minister for Cooperatives on dairy, and the Minister for Internal Security can respond on the issues touching on security issues.
Majority Leader, just let me make this clear. This is what I said. I said that although it has been captured in the Hansard, I'm asking Honorable Yusuf that you take your own initiative to ensure that you give that to the Internal Security Committee so that they can be able to respond appropriately at the time. I've seen that the Honorable John Mutunga, member for Tigania West, has had pressed the intervention, but you can't do a point of information by shouting. I'm following the list here, and I've seen that Honorable John Mutunga had pressed the intervention button while Honorable Ichunga was speaking. I'll give him a chance because his committee was mentioned.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Kenya is self-sufficient in milk. Kenya only has allowed importation of a certain type of powder milk, a certain type. And this information is the Kenyan Dairy Board. Kenyan Dairy Board gives the permit for importation of this powdered milk. Not all the powdered milk, but a specific type that we do not produce in our country, that is not processed in our country. What was confiscated is milk that is already barred from importation. The Anti-Counterfeit Authority needs to come in. Kenyan Dairy Board needs to come in. Let him bring the formal statement, and we shall give him a government position.
Yeah, thank you. Honorable Tunga, that's my position. That's so that we are not speaking on speculation or being asked to respond when we don't have a comprehensive statement. And if Honorable Yusuf's statement touches on even another committee, then the same copy will be given to the various committee so that we can be able to proceed. Honorable Yusuf Hassan, there is no need for you to clarify anything because you will do so in your formal statement. Because now they'll... No. I think we'll just... Honorable Yusuf, it doesn't matter how much you say it now, just give out the formal statement. I'd given you the indulgence so that you could have a window to submit it to the committee. Now you can submit it to the committee and it will be dealt with comprehensively. You will include those issues, whether it's internal security, whether it's agriculture or any other committee. Yes, that will again will be a subject. It will be a substantive subject in your statement, and then they will be able to deal with it. Okay, we can proceed to the next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate on bills sponsored by parties or committees.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on bill sponsored by a committee, the leader of the majority party or the leader of the minority party, be limited as follows: a maximum of 45 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee if the bill is not sponsored by the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each if the bill is not sponsored by either of them, and that the priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, this being a procedural motion, I beg to move and request the Honorable Mwenje, the Deputy Minority Whip, to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to also greet members of the House and wish them a Happy New Year, and I beg to second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the debate on bill sponsored by the committee, the leader of majority party or the leader of minority party be limited as follows: a maximum of 45 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee. Honorable Pukose, you are out of order. In reply, and in 15 minutes, and a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee if the bill is not sponsored by the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each if the bill is not sponsored by either of them, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Okay, it's the mood of the House that we put the question. Okay, honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on bill sponsored by a committee, the leader of majority party or the leader of minority party be limited as follows: a maximum of 45 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee if the bill is not sponsored by that committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each if the bill is not sponsored by either of them. And that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, procedural motion, limitation of debate on individual members' bills.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on bills not sponsored by a committee, the leader of the majority party or the leader of the minority party, be limited as follows. A maximum of 3 hours and 30 minutes, with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move and request the Honorable CNN to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I second, let me wish Catholics happy Ash Wednesday and also the rest of the members happy Valentine's. Speaker, I second. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the debate on bills not sponsored by the committee, the leader of majority party, or the leader of minority party be limited as follows. A maximum of 3 hours and 30 minutes, with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, who are limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Is it the mood of the House that we put the question? Yes. Okay. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on bills not sponsored by the committee, the leader of majority party, and the leader of minority party be limited as follows. A maximum of 3 hours and 30 minutes, with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party, who shall be limited to 15 minutes each. The priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order. Next order.
Order number 10, procedural motion, limitation of debate on motions.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'd like to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any motion, including a special motion, be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to ask the Honorable Naboera to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to wish all the members a happy season after our break. And Madam Speaker, I would like to second the motion.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any motion, including a special motion, be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover, 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the Leader of Majority Party and the Leader of Minority Party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and that the priority of speaking be accorded to the Leader of Majority Party, the Leader of Minority Party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. The mood of the House is that we put the question? Yes. Okay. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any motion, including special motion, be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the Leader of Majority and the Leader of Minority Party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and at 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and that the priority in speaking be accorded to the Leader of Majority Party, the Leader of Minority Party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, procedural motion, limitation of debate on reports of audit committees.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of audit committees be limited as follows: a maximum of 60 minutes for the mover in moving and 30 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the Leader of the Majority Party and the Leader of the Minority Party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority be accorded to the Leader of the Majority Party and the Leader of the Minority Party in that order. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the member for Mwea, the Honorable Mary Maingi, to second.
I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of audit committees be limited as follows: a maximum of 60 minutes for the mover in moving and 30 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the Leader of Majority Party and the Leader of Minority Party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that priority be accorded to the Leader of Majority Party and the Leader of Minority Party in that order. Will as many as... Can I put the question? Okay. I'm as much rush as yourself, looks like. Honorable members, allow me to now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of audit committees be limited as follows: a maximum of 60 minutes for the mover in moving and 30 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 10 minutes for each other member speaking except the Leader of Majority Party and the Leader of Minority Party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that priority be accorded to the Leader of Majority Party and the Leader of Minority Party in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 12, procedural motion, limitation of debate on other committee reports.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on other committee reports, including a report of a joint committee of the House of Parliament or any other report submitted to the House for which limitation of time has not been specified, shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the committee report is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move and request the Honorable Mudhoni, nominated member from Meru, to second.
Honorable Dorothy Kiara.
Use this one. Madam Speaker, I second.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on other committee reports, including the report of a joint committee of the Houses of Parliament or any other report submitted to the House for which limitation of time has not been specified, shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee, if the committee report is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party in that order. Is that the mood of the House? Yes. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on other committee reports, including a report of a joint committee of the Houses of Parliament or any other report submitted to the House for which limitation of time has not been specified, shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the committee report is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And at 10 minutes before expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 13, procedural motion, limitation of debate on the address by the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, noting that Standing Order 24.6 provides that debate on a motion on the address by the President shall be limited to not more than 4 sitting days. And pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that debate on a motion on the address by His Excellency the President and Article 132(1)(a) of the Constitution shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 30 minutes for the mover in moving, 20 minutes for the leader of the minority party, and 10 minutes each to the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to speak on the report submitted under Article 132(1)(c)(i) of the Constitution relating to the realization of the national values, the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations to speak on the report submitted under Article 132(1)(c)(3) of the Constitution relating to the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic, and the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration Administration and Internal Security to speak on the report submitted under Article 247 of the Constitution relating to the state of the security of the country, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Doris Donya to second.
Thank you very much. Happy Ash Wednesday to the Catholic congregation and all Kenyans. I stand to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that, noting that Standing Order 24.6 provides that debate on a motion on address by the President shall be limited to not more than 4 sitting days, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that the debate on a motion on the address by His Excellency the President under Article 132, 1A of the Constitution shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 30 minutes for the mover in moving, 20 minutes for the leader of minority party, and 10 minutes each to the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to speak on the report submitted under Article 132, 1C1 of the Constitution relating to the realization of national values. The chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations to speak on the report submitted under Article 132, 1C3 of the Constitution relating to the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic, and the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security to speak on the report submitted under Article 247 of the Constitution relating to the state of security of the country, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of time, the mover shall be called upon to reply. Honorable Makali, earlier you hadn't pressed the intervention button.
Honorable Speaker, I've been trying to catch your eye, but you know when you just finish reading the motion and then you are still standing, it makes it very difficult for us to say something. But what I wanted to say, Honorable Speaker, is that what the House is doing now is very important in terms of trying to agree on what time frames we'll be doing motions, bills, and all that. But Honorable Speaker, you realize that even as a House and we pass this, what has been happening, and I hope it will not happen this session, is that very important motions and bills would come to the House, would debate, and even immediately the motion is moved and seconded, members are not allowed even a single minute to debate. How I wish now this time, because we have mostly done 2 hours, others 3 hours, that members will be allowed, at least 1 or 2 members, to contribute and debate, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I still insist, and I still want to beg the House that some of these motions are so important to the nation that it is important members are allowed to just say 1 or 2 things about it. For example, when we are discussing the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Honorable Speaker, and the ones that can bear mere witness, other than the mover and the seconder, nobody else was able to debate. And this position,
Makali, you're referring to a matter that is already resolved.
I'm just giving an example, Honorable Speaker. So what I'm saying is, even as we fix this timelines and all that, it's important that members will be allowed to do. And I want to urge my colleague, Honorable Pokose, please, I would wish you move from that position and solve this idea of put the question. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, Honorable Makali, you've made your point, but what I'm asking is, would you like to debate this? Not on this one. Or you're speculating about the future of the conduct of business during this 3rd session, just so that we are clear. You're not talking about this current situation. Okay. Honorable Bukose, I know that you have been mentioned adversely, so I will let you have a minute.
Madam Speaker, you know Honorable Makali Mulu is my friend, and every morning we meet in the gym to exercise together. I have never cucked him in debates in this House. I do not have the power to cark anybody. So I think, Honorable Makali, that is not in good faith. As a friend, the issue about procedural motions, I think this is agreeable, and the House normally consents to whether the Speaker puts the question or not. It is not me who is dictating. Yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Nyikal. But Honorable Pukose, don't be worried. I think Honorable Makali has confirmed that he's merely speculating and fearful of what may happen going forward. But he has confirmed it has not occurred yet.
Madam Speaker.
He has no cause of action yet.
Madam Speaker.
Proceed, Honorable Nyikal.
Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. This is my first time in this new session. And let me take the opportunity to welcome all my colleagues back. I hope they enjoyed the session. But the issue that has been raised by Honorable Makali, I think all what has happened so far, what I've witnessed here, we support. But I think it's raising a general issue which has been a problem before. So he did mention Honorable Pukose's name because he has been associated with this before. Maybe that's not fair, but I think in future we really should try important issues to get them discussed. So as we are starting a new session, we are putting in new thoughts and new ways of doing things. And the way the leader of majority is looking at me, I think he agrees with my view that in the new session we are going to be more careful that we get people say what they need to say. Sometimes you wonder that we don't discuss things properly and then they go to court and we are caught off guard. So, Madam Speaker, as this one, we support.
Honorable Makali, are you happy if I put the question? I'm giving you sufficient time to ventilate on this point.
Again, thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Speaker, I think Honorable Nyikal has put it better than me. What we are saying, we're just as people from this side, and you know, we are Kenyans, and Kenyans do listen to a lot of this debate. I have no problem. I support this motion, and some like this one can put the question. But I'm saying when we're discussing important matters of this nation, and I'm sure the majority leader will agree with me, we have been in this game for long. It's important Kenyans hear the voice of this House. I support, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, Honorable Makali, just remember to at that time raise your hand, because this rule won't apply in perpetuity. Honorable Owen Bayer, you have a point of order.
Honorable Speaker, just I want to appreciate my colleague Dr. Makali and Dr. Nyikal, and say that, you see, this is a house of debate, and in debate, the Speaker tells us about candor and banter. And sometimes there's something also called filibustering, which our colleagues from the other side want to use. On this other side, because we have to pass these important debates, we have to also pull certain cards to ensure we progress. So that's how the House will continue to be. As a minority and majority is part of it. It's the interesting thing that makes this House live. So don't worry, Honorable Makali. You could also introduce filibustering, but get more members to support you. Otherwise, we will continue to transact business so that government moves forward. Thank you.
What's your point of order? Proceed.
Madam Speaker, one of the cardinal doctrines of the kind of the Westminster Parliament we have, or democracy, is the will, or rather the will of the majority and the right of the minority to be heard. And we say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this happens in many, many democracies. This is not unique just to us. When you have a bit of the, what you call the tyranny of the majority, the tendency is to steamroll everything.
And that does not bring out the finer aspects of democracy and the debates, the philosophy behind some of these things, and very good ideas. That essentially not only would be good for us, but at the same time entertaining, and at the same time informing and educating the masses out there and our own people. So what basically this side is saying, we know that at the end of the day, the majority will have its way. But for God's sake, don't steamroll so fast as to eliminate that possibility of what you say, the kanda and the banta, you know what I mean. So basically, we're just saying let's have a lively house that essentially is going to be appreciated outside this country and all over the globe. So allow a serious debate always when matters are brought before the House so that we educate ourselves on many things. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, even as I put the question, I just want to encourage members that, and I think the clerk's office is ready to make sure everyone has their own card, so that it's easy to be seen, because then you can press the intervention button. We can be able to use the technology that's been availed to us by the clerk's office. So, honorable members, with your general permission and the particular permission of Honorable Makali, I now put the question. That noting that Standing Order 24(6) provides that the debate on a motion on the address of the President shall be limited to not more than 4 sitting days, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97(1), this House orders that the debate on a motion on the address by His Excellency the President under Article 132(1)(a) of the Constitution shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 30 minutes for the mover in moving, and 20 minutes for the leader of minority party, and 10 minutes each to the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to speak on the report submitted under Article 132(1)(c)(1) of the Constitution relating to the realization of national values. The chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations to speak on the report submitted under Article 132(1)(c)(3) of the Constitution relating to the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. And the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security to speak on the report submitted by Article 247 of the Constitution relating to the state of the security of the country, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, and at 10 minutes before the expiry of time, the mover shall be called upon to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next motion.
Order number 14, motion. Approval of the calendar of the National Assembly for 2024.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly, regular sessions for the third session, the year 2024, as contained in the schedule attached to the order paper, that is the page marked 006, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee, having been reconstituted yesterday, Honorable Speaker, met and proposed this new calendar for this year, rather for this session, third session of the year 2024. And Honorable Speaker, this calendar constitutes a total of 122 sittings, beginning yesterday, running all the way to the 5th of December this year. This, Honorable Speaker, excludes any special sittings and extra sittings that the House may resolve to sit, depending on the workload that will come in the course of the session. Honorable Speaker, as members are also aware, the first part of this session is largely guided by the submission of the budget policy statement and the medium-term debt strategy, which we expect to be here by the 15th of February, that is tomorrow, and should be considered and adopted by the House within a period of 14 days. And that Honorable Speaker tells members that all members of departmental committees and those that sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee will have a rather busy 2 weeks, first 2 weeks. And I hope they will all be available. Honorable Speaker, the Division of Revenue Bill also is expected to be in the National Assembly by the 10th of March this year. And Honorable Speaker, additionally, the second part of the session will be guided by budget timelines on conducting public hearings by the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the annual budget estimates. And as such, this should be undertaken into account before the committee tables its report on the estimates for approval by the House. Honorable Speaker, as you may also be aware, mid-June will be pronouncement of the budget highlights and the revenue-raising measures, and thereafter approval of Budget and Appropriations Committee report on the annual estimates, introduction, approval of the Appropriations Bill. You may also note, Honorable Speaker, that the Finance Bill, the Appropriation Bill, and the Supplementary Appropriation Bill should be approved by the 30th of June 2024. Honorable Speaker, the preparation of the calendar has also taken into account the Easter holiday, and I note today many of us donning the Ash Wednesday sign, those of us who profess the Catholic faith. And Honorable Speaker, with Good Friday being on the 29th of March 2024 and Easter Monday being on 1st of April 2024, this is a time that will be on a short recess. And Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee has also endeavored to take care of our Muslim brothers and sisters who will be having their Ramadan from the 9th or 10th of March this year. And therefore, just about a week after or so, we shall have our short recess. And therefore not have to bear through the Ramadan and have a very strenuous period working in the House. They will be on a short recess. Further, Honorable Speaker, the calendar has also taken into consideration our annual prayer breakfast, which is now part of our annual calendar, which is scheduled to take place on the last Thursday of May, that being 30th May 2024. Honorable Speaker, finally, the calendar has taken into consideration the school's calendar for both primary and secondary school holidays. And for this, Honorable Speaker, I mean public, primary and secondary schools, because I know the Honorable and Bayer was asking me whether those in the international curricula are taken care of. But I think also during their summer break in June, end of June, July, August, they also have time to have a short recess and the long recess in August, when your children, for those who are in the other curricula, are at home. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, with these few remarks, I believe this calendar, Honorable Speaker, will serve us well throughout the year and will be able to guide us even in our planning, even for our constituency operations. I know many of us, just before we got to the House, we had occasion to award part of the bursaries that we are giving. And I'm certain, even now, as we await the next disbursement of NGCDF to complete the bursary awards and also implementation of projects that we oversight, we will have time created out of this calendar to be able to carry on with our other representation work and oversight in our constituencies and even oversight of government operations in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Honorable Speaker, finally, I was keenly listening to the debate earlier on the earlier motion, and I want to agree with the Honorable Nyikal and Honorable Makali Mulu that we all have a duty and an obligation, one, to listen to each other, two, to have opportunity to speak. And Honorable Speaker, whenever any member of the House calls on the Speaker to close debate and put the question, doesn't mean that is curtailing anybody else from speaking. And if anything, Honorable Speaker, it will be casting aspersions on the person of the Speaker or whoever is chairing the session to assume that the person, any member who calls on closure of debate, and the Speaker asks the House, whether that is the mood of the House, that the Speaker is in any way curtailing any member from speaking. And Honorable Speaker, I would bear witness that in the past, I have not seen the Speaker in any way curtail any member from whichever side of the political divide from expressing themselves, and members should be free to debate. This is a house of debate, and anyone and everybody should avail themselves to come and debate. Honorable Speaker, I want to encourage my colleagues, the Honorable Nyikal and Honorable Makali Mulu, and I know the two of them are quite diligent and present always in the House, and pray that even those others who want to come and speak, they will always be as available as the Honorable Nyikal, and take time, all of us, to read and get the gist of whatever is before us in the House, so that you offer meaningful contributions, and contributions that you also show people in your constituency and Kenyans at large that you truly understand what you are doing here, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to now move and once again to wish all of us a very good session, this session, as I wish all Kenyans a happy Valentine's today, especially our ladies, and especially the member for Migori, and the member for Busia, the Honorable Catherine Amanyo. I know she's very well dressed today, and I can see her, she's in black and red, and I am sure at the end of the day she will have a good evening. Honorable Speaker, allow me to move and request the member for Taita Taveta, sorry, the member for Taita Taveta, the Honorable, to second approval of this calendar. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And before our second, I also want to take this priority. I want to wish all the Catholics a happy Lenten period. I also want to wish a happy Valentine to all other my colleagues, and also want to congratulate the House Business Committee, having constituted yesterday. I can say they have done a good job. The calendar is well thought. Looking at it, it gives us enough time to execute our mandate here in the chamber, and also it also gives us enough time to go and interact with our voters, as well as time to have some time with the family. So I want to say this is a very good calendar for the purpose of planning our work. So thank you very much, and I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular sessions for the third session 2024 as contained in the schedule to the order paper. I'm looking at Honorable Makali and Honorable Chikal. Yes. So, honorable members, as you can see, I have your general permission and particular permission from the Honorable Nyikal and Honorable Makali. I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular sessions for the third session 2024 as contained in the schedule to the order paper. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 15. The National Government Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2023. Resumption of debate.
The Honorable Geoffrey Mulanya, I'm told, was on the floor and had 7 minutes. 6 minutes. You may put, do you have a mic? You don't have the mic?
you, Madam Speaker, for granting me this opportunity to make a contribution, continue my debate on this particular motion. And for clarity purpose, Madam Speaker, the motion is about the National Government Act, the amendment bill on village elders. Madam Speaker, before I proceed on with my debate on the motion, I wish to wish all the village elders in our country a happy Valentine's Day as we continue to yes, they are very good and important Kenyans because the work they do supports peace and happy coexistence of our people in our country. Madam Speaker, according to the fair labor practice, it is fair for all workers to be remunerated and accorded a fair working conditions. Madam Speaker, we note that under the National Government Act of 2012, the structure of the national government ends at the assistant chief level. The village elder is not recognized under the law. And I really congratulate Honorable Malulu Njendi for thinking wise to bring it, the amendment, so that we can have the village elders included in the act as part of the administration. We note with appreciation that the work that the village elders do for our nation. We note for, personally as a lawyer, Madam Speaker, I note that we have been having complaint about the backlog of cases in courts. But we have not appreciated that we have a lower cadre of mediators in our villages. And these mediators are the village elders. Petty offenses are being solved in the villages by these particular village elders. Yet, the government has completely failed for a very long time to recognize and appreciate them by ensuring that they have a token at the end of the month. It is therefore my humble request that we as parliamentarians, we must consider this particular motion, ensure that this amendment passes so that the village elders can form part of the leadership pyramid in this particular country. I therefore support the motion and congratulate Honorable Malulu Njendi for introducing this particular amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Beatrice Ilachi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to support this amendment bill of Honorable Malulu Njendi and to appreciate what he's proposing. Madam Speaker, even as we speak and as we talk about Valentine today, we want to also appreciate. In this amendment, when we bring in the elders, we are talking about all these things that are happening today. That how can we deal with femicides that has hit our country? And we know the Nyumba Kumi was to come in to assist us, Madam Speaker, that time. To assist every village to understand who has come in, who is a new person, who is joining the neighbors. And this is why when we bring in this issue of elders, we are saying we want to see a Kenya that now turns around and brings hope that we can appreciate each other as neighbors. And if today we are saying there is love of neighbors, then we must ask ourselves, is it important and is it fair for us to start as Kenyans appreciating who is your neighbor? And that is why, Madam Speaker, when we talk of the elders, we are saying we want a structure that comes in, that brings in a team that will help the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, Madam Speaker, to be able to know we have challenges of child labor, we have challenges of children not going to school, that the elders will be able to say in this community, these children have finished school, they are supposed to move to high school, to senior school, but they are still loitering around. Madam Speaker, even as we look at the structure, We want the government to appreciate that as we bring in even the community health workers, as we bring in the elders, we want a country, Madam Speaker, that will now have a sense of safety. And I know if we do it together as Kenyans, Kenyans who are very hardworking, Kenyans who are able to know what is best for them, how I wish we can stand and ensure all these things that are happening in Kenya, that, Madam Speaker, they can come to an end. And Madam Speaker, when you look at the proposals of Honorable Malulu Njendi, the most important thing we should be asking ourselves, I like when you say recruitment and appointment. For me, if I am asked, an elder should also have a value. That even without recruitment, Madam Speaker, people can identify these elders. They can say so and so brought this. They have a history of bringing good things in that community. Because if we go on this recruitment stuff, Madam Speaker, people now assume and they feel, oh, we are at work. And so they'll just do it as a job. This structure of elders is supposed to be people who have retired, people who have been there for the community, even those who never went to work, Madam Speaker, but they are there to give wisdom. They have been in the church. They have been in some structure within that village level. Those are the people we are looking at, both men and women, Madam Speaker. And so, for me, as we move on with this, we must be very wary on this issue of recruitment and appointment. We want to see elders who have something that they give in. And this is a job you sacrifice. It's something you're volunteering. This is just an incentive we are talking about. So as I finalize, Madam Speaker, I would wish the mover of the bill to relook at it properly so that we don't find ourselves, maybe within the regulations, we shall put what type of an elder are we talking about, and how do we ensure all clusters are being taken care of. For me, Madam Speaker, it's a very good move, and I'm hoping the year 2024, we can stand as a country, we can stand as Parliament, Madam Speaker, and say there are few things we've done, but done them well. And Madam Speaker, we know there is a lot of challenges, yes, but how I pray Kenyans, we can start appreciating our country, Kenya, that God has given us, a country that has everything that people would wish to have in their countries. But every day, we are indeed in the mouth of lamentation and all these things. Let us embrace our country.
the strength to tell them the truth. And this one will enable him to know the truth. And this one will not just be bad on him or for the country, but also to help him fulfill all what he has promised to do to the citizens. And we are here to build Kenya, all of us, whether in opposition or in the ruling party. We are here to build Kenya and come together and make sure that our people get what they need at the right time when they need it. The economy right now is very low, very down. Actually, I don't know if the rest of the members of Parliament and even Senate are getting the same calls that I get every day, for people asking for school fees, for people asking for food, for people asking for medication, and so on and so forth. And so we need to come together and know the way forward for our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support.
Senator Mundigi.
Asante, Bwana Spika, naunga mkono ambaye ya ile mambo tunazungumzia hapa, vile tunazungumza tupatiwe muda ipunguzwe, ndio kila mtu katika Senate, tuko maseneta 67 na sisi wote hakuna hataki kuchangia kwa sababu tumetoka masinani na tunajua vile kunaendelea. Na unga mkono kwa sababu pia nakumbuka kama mwaka jana wakati rais alizungumza mambo mengi sana ambayo economy, na pia alikuwa anaongea mambo ya afya masinani, na hiyo tumeona ametimiza, na akaongea tena mambo ya kilimo na tunaona vile mambo inaendelea. Na pia wakati tulichangia na tukamunga mkono, tutakuwa tunachangia tuone kama kuna mambo inaweza pandilika, kama sasa kutoka wakati hiyo, wakati tuliingia kama upande ya makadamia ilikuwa inatoka shilingi 30 na sasa inatoka shilingi 100 na kitu. Kwa hiyo kuchangia mambo ya rais ni kitu muhimu sana. Pia tunakumbuka wakati ule alisema mambo ya kilimo, akaongea mambo ya fertilizer ikarundi kutoka 6,500 na ikawa imekuja 2,500, na tumeona vile kilimo inaendelea mambo mingi. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri muda ipunguzwe na pia tuwe tukichangia mambo mengi. Pia mambo ingine ningetaka kuwa tutakuwa nachangia ni vile tutaweka maanane mambo ya kilimo, kila county iwe ikipata maji ya kulima na vitu zingine, ndio tuweze kuona masomo mazuri. Kitu kingine tutachangia ni kuwa tutajua kama hiyo mambo yote tutafanya, mambo ya pesa mkononi itarudi namna gani na tutaweza kukaa namna gani. Pia tulisikia alichangia mambo ya economy, na pia tumeona vile kumekuwa na shinda, na pia akasema vile mandeni imekuwa mingi na amekuwa akilipa mandeni, na pia akisaidia county, na tumeona county nyingi ikipokea pesa, sio kama miaka ile ingine tumeona ikipokea kila mwezi, kutoka mwezi wa 7 kila mwezi inapata pesa yake. Na pia mambo ingine tutachangia ni mambo ya pia Kenya yetu, vijana wetu na wasichana, vijana wamewachiliwa na mambo ya pombe na dawa ya kulevya. Kuna wakati utafika ukute Kenya haina vijana ama haina familia, kwa sababu kama hiyo mambo kama haitachukuliwa hatua, ndio tuone kama kuna uwezo kama kila county inaweza patiwa pesa ya kuwa ikipeleka hao vijana kwa mafunzo mambo ya madawa ya kulevya na pombe, ndio waweze kukaa vizuri kwa familia zao. Kwa hiyo asante Bwana Spika, naunga mkono.
Senator Miraj.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kuweza kunipa fursa hii adhimu na mimi niweze kuunga mkono mswada uliopendekezwa na kiongozi wa wengi, kiranja wa wengi hapa bungeni Bwana Halwale, ili kuweze kupunguzwa muda, ili kila mjumbe aweze kuchangia katika speech ya rais anapozungumza na sisi wabunge ama wajumbe wa taifa hili. Bwana Spika, nimesikia wenzangu wamechangia na nimenukuu mingi nikiwa pale lounge, na nikasema na mimi nije nipeane changizo zangu. Bwana Spika, nataka kuwakumbusha wajumbe wenzangu ya kwamba tuko hapa kama mkono mmoja miongoni mwa mikono mitatu mwa serikali yetu ya Kenya. Na hatuko hapa kuwa wapinzani na wenye serikali. Tuko hapa na majukumu matatu ya kuwakilisha wananchi wa Kenya, kusimamia rasilimali zao, na pia kuwatungia sheria za kulinda na kusongeza taifa letu mbele. Sisi kama wajumbe katika bunge la Seneti, tuko na jukumu moja kubwa la kusimamia gatuzi zetu 47 katika taifa la Kenya. Lakini ni jambo la kusikitisha sana kuona kwamba rais anapokuja kutuzungumzia yale ambao ameweza kuyafanya kama mkono mmoja wa serikali, the executive, sisi tunaanza kukejeli yale ambao amekuja kutueleza. Yangu ni kuwapa ushauri na saha, ndugu zangu, sote tulioko hapa. Tuko na jukumu katika taifa hili kama viongozi kuweza kupeana mwelekeo na kutoa suluhu ya matatizo ambayo yanatukabili sisi kama taifa. Ni vizuri sana Wakenya wanatuangalia kule nje, Bwana Spika, katika mirengo tofauti. Lakini ni muhimu sisi wenyewe tujue lile jukumu kubwa ambalo limetuleta katika bunge hili. Ni kuwezesha kuwa wasimamizi wa rasilimali za Wakenya, kuwa viongozi ambao wanaona tatizo lipo wapi. Yuko kiongozi mmoja hapa amezungumzia masuala ya CBC. Na sisi kama viongozi wadogo, Bwana Spika, ambao ndio sasa mwanzo tunaanza ulezi, tuko na watoto wetu katika taasisi hii. Watoto wetu wameanza kusoma, Bwana Spika, na mpaka sasa hakuna mwelekeo wa kuonesha watoto hawa watakwenda vipi na kuelekea vipi. Kando na kuwa wengine wetu tunasemekana kwamba ni vibaraka wa serikali, mimi nataka kuwakumbusha wajumbe wenzangu hapa, mimi ni mjumbe wa kike ambaye nimepewa fursa kuweza kuja katika nyumba hii kuweza kuongea masuala ya kijinsia na kuwasaidia kuongeza na kutilia pondo pale ambapo naona kuna sheria zinatungwa na zinatuumiza sisi kama kina mama, ama nichangie kuonesha ni njia hii tukiifuata itasaidia kina mama na vijana katika taifa hili la Kenya. Nataka kuwaambia ndugu zangu ambao wakienda mashinani, Bwana Spika, wanasema kwamba wajumbe wa upinzani hawapawi fursa sawa na wajumbe ambao wako upande wa serikali kutunga sheria. Huo ni urongo wa mchana. Hapa kila mtu ako na fursa ya kutunga sheria na kuchangia hisia zake ili kuleta suluhu katika taifa la Kenya. Tuko hapa ili kuweza kuwasaidia wa Kenya.
What is your point of order, Senator Eddy?
Speaker, I rise on the point of order number 1044, you know, and also actually limiting debates actually, Mr. Speaker. You know, I think that it's not in order, and I never want to interrupt my sister Senator Miraj, because I enjoy the tantalizing Swahili that she brings into this house. But I think that, Mr. Speaker, the topic that we have here and the discussion that we have here is whether we limit the debate, the debates on the presidential speech, and it's not in order for the wonderful senator from Mombasa and nominated to actually suggest that there are members from the opposition side who are, you know, claiming some claims that she knows best, which have got totally no relevance to this particular conversation, Mr. Speaker. So could she just limit a debate to the matter at hand and not the hisia za what she calls the hisia za watu wa huku? Asante sana.
Again, Senator Eddy, what is your the standing order that you're relying on? 1014.
Doctor, you know, I mean, imputing wrong motive on our side for what we haven't claimed until this conversation at all.
Very well, Senator Miraj. According to your statement, you are suggesting that members of the opposition are out there lamenting. They're not being given an opportunity to present bills, and that the favoritism is towards the majority side. Is that a statement of fact? If not, you may have to proceed with the draw.
Asante Bwana Spika, na kwa kweli ni statement ambayo nimeizungumza nikiwa na ushahidi nayo na nitaileta katika bunge hili. Asante Bwana Eddie Okech, takuletea ushahidi Bwana Spika. Lakini yangu tu ni kuweka wazi. Naam.
If you are unable to substantiate that, I'll give you an opportunity to do so tomorrow.
Inshallah. Thank you. Asante Bwana Spika. Yangu ni kwamba Bwana Spika, nikizungumzia na nikimalizia, sisi hapa tumekuja kama Wakenya ili kuleta suluhu na kutatua matatizo ambayo yanatukabili kama Wakenya. Ni vibaya sana kuona viongozi wa upinzani, ndugu zetu ambao tunakunywa nao chai na tunapiga tu story kama kawaida, tunapofika katika jumba hili wanaleta siasa nyingi. Mimi niko tayari rais aambiwe pale anafanya makosa ili huduma kwa wananchi ziweze kuafikiwa kwa malengo. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Mariam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, first of all, Happy New Year to you and other colleagues of mine, of senators who are around. Mr. Speaker, this motion about President's address is more of President addressing implementation of his plan. Mr. Speaker, the last President address, the President omitted ASAL counties, specifically pastoralist. So I urge to the President, this time he will cater for the ASAL counties for the implementations. On that scenario, on that issue, there is a road which has been given to Mande Elwak to Mande Ramo, which Senator is financed by...
Mariam,
yes.
Senator Mariam, if you look at your order paper, you'll see the motion that is being discussed now. We are not debating the address by the President that was done last year. We are debating the motion as read to you and as moved by the majority leader. So just speak to that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I know it is a motion for the limitations, but because the President's address is more of implementation of his plan. So now when he's doing his plan address, I'm just reminding that last time there is omission of ASAL counties. Now I predict there will be implementation of some activities in ASAL area. I know the motion is about the limitation of President's address. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gloria Oroba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion on the limitation of debate on the President's address. Mr. Speaker, I think I want to echo one of the statements that, it must have been Senator Agnes Kavindu who has suggested that perhaps also the President should sit in to listen to some of the criticism, the objective criticism from this House. Mr. Speaker, I think for me, what I want to say is that I believe that in his presence, most of our senators, fellow senators, who sometimes just criticize for purposes of criticizing without any objective wisdom, will then be able to speak truthfully in front of the electorate on matters that truly count. So that is a very good suggestion from Senator Agnes. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in this, you know, we tend to underestimate the communication from the president. And sometimes, and I remember way back, I must have been young, very young, when Kenyans were complaining that they had a president who never used to talk, who never used to communicate, and so people were in the dark. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate His Excellency William Samoei Ruto for actually keeping the communications lines open. And it's not only through the presidential address, but through the daily communication that he has with the electorate, both from the executive and on ground as he goes to speak to the people. And so therefore, Mr. Speaker, I just urge that in this particular address that is upcoming, that he may also communicate in terms of the gender agenda, Mr. Speaker. It is far too long that the two-third gender rule has not been spoken of, Mr. Speaker. Not in the presidential address, not in the constant communication that we get from the executive, Mr. Speaker. And it is very unfortunate because I do know that a lot of work is being done by the executive, by the president, to ensure that the Kenya Kwanza Women Charter is being implemented. But Mr. Speaker, there's been very limited communication of the same in terms of the gender agenda. Mr. Speaker, I also hope to hear that the policies and some of the work that is being done in that space of women empowerment is actually going to be communicated this time. Because, Mr. Speaker, some of us who are nominated to represent women in this house, people ask us, what is happening? You went there to represent women, to push for the agenda of women, but the government is quiet. Government is not quiet. It's just that there is no communication that is being put out that is clear, that is intentional, to actually inform Kenyans on what the president and the cabinet is doing in terms of empowering women and having women being represented in these spaces. So, Mr. Speaker, in the upcoming presidential address, I do hope that this particular message is going to be communicated. And even as we look forward to the conference on the status of women that is happening in New York, we want to hear the president echoing issues that are affecting women, not only issues that come up. For instance, now there is a lot of talk. We are celebrating, we are mourning, we are not celebrating, we are mourning the lives of our lost women who have been killed through femicide, Mr. Speaker. We want to hear what those offices that have been mandated to represent women and to protect women through the cabinet, through the executive, what they are doing. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion because I do believe that all 16 nominated women in the House will then get time to speak and air their views in terms of the gender agenda, and also to be able to question or to objectively criticize on the work that is being done in that space, on the representation of women and the policies and the projects that the Kenya Kwanza government has for the women of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Munyahaji.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia hoja ya kuweka muda katika kujadili hotuba ya Rais ambayo inatarajiwa nafikiri mwezi wa 4. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nachukua fursa hii kukutakia wewe binafsi na maseneta wote mwaka mpya, mwaka 2024 wenye manufaa na afya njema katika mwaka huu mpya. Mheshimiwa Spika, pili, tunamshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwamba ametufikisha mwaka mpya na tuko tayari kufanya kazi katika kujenga taifa na kuhakikisha kwamba maisha ya Wakenya yamebadilika. Mheshimiwa Spika, hoja hii ni muhimu sana kwa sababu tumeona kwamba mwaka uliokwisha watu wengi hawakupata fursa ya kuweza kuchangia hotuba ya Rais. Na hotuba ile, Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa na mambo mengi ambayo ni kinyume na hali halisi ilivyo katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kweli kwamba wengi wetu huwa tunaikosoa hotuba hii, na kwa hakika ndio kazi yetu, kwa sababu sisi tumechaguliwa kama wawakilishi wa wananchi, sisi ndio macho ya wananchi. Lakini ikiwa kuna jambo ambalo limezungumzwa ama limefanywa ambalo halilingani na sheria ama halilingani na hali halisi ilivyo, ni wajibu wetu Mheshimiwa Spika kukosoa na kueleza ukweli halisi ulivyo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tutapata fursa ya kuweza kukosoa hotuba hii, na wengi wetu wale ambao wako katika upande wa serikali wao wanajiona kwamba ni serikali zaidi kuliko wale ambao wako katika mkono wa serikali, yani executive. Lakini tukiangalia majukumu yetu katika katiba kifungu cha 96 ni kwamba sisi ndio wa macho ya wananchi katika serikali, na sisi ni jukumu letu, mbali na kwamba tunatunga sheria na kukosoa serikali, na pia ndio waangalizi wa mali ya umma katika mikono ya serikali, ambao wananchi binafsi hawezi kufanya hivyo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naunga mkono hoja hii na ningependa kukomea hapo. Asante.
Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me first of all take this opportunity to send my condolences to the family, friends of Kelvin Kiptum, and also take this opportunity to send my condolences to Senator Khalwale and the family of Kizito Moi, our majority leader. Poleni sana. Honorable Senator, Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this motion on limitation of presidential address or speech. Honorable Speaker, in support of Senator Khalwale's motion, I would want to say the presidential speech is of a symbolic importance for this country. It is an occasion of utmost pomp and tradition. It is a time the president puts agenda before the country. It is not only the parliament, the whole country are listening and hearing what the president says. And it also the time he puts his agenda in order to influence public opinion. Mr. Speaker, the responsibility of this Senate, first of all, is to represent, to legislate, and to oversight. When the president gives his speech, it is the responsibility of each person in this house to question the agenda of the president. It is not only the responsibility of the other side of the aisle to ask questions. Each and every person has a right to ask any question that he thinks or she thinks is not going the way this country should go. It is always good to listen to the debate when the president is giving the speech, so that you can debate wisely. And my fellow senators here have been trying to say, when you talk about presidential speech, it is not the responsibility of each side only. And I have seen a tradition where people criticize, they critique what the president says also. Of late, Mr. Speaker, the president mentioned the issue of judiciary. And I've seen many senators and members of parliament in this country going around in wedding places, in harambes and funerals, talking about judiciary. And I would want to say, if the president says something, if he says whether it is right or wrong, there is no point or reason why one side of the government should attack the other side of the government. And I think when the president gives speeches, if you have anything to ask, if you have anything to say, each and every person in this house should say, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion. Asante sana.
Senator Boni, you may proceed to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to reply, and I want to thank all colleagues for the issues that you have raised. Of greatest interest is what was brought up by the Senator for Tana River, who first proposed the need for us to make this debate on the presidential speech inclusive to to the extent that the President should be requested to be sitting in during that debate. Mr. Speaker, this quickly invites you and the House to think about changing the standing orders. If we change the standing orders to allow cabinet secretaries to come to the House, we can also change standing orders to ask the President to sit in during debate. I think this is a very innovative sort of thinking. We should not just be talking to the air. We want the President to listen to us, and because there are many presidents in waiting in this House, it's good for him to hear what the future presidents that will succeed him will be commending on his thoughts and programs. With those many remarks, I reply.
Now, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 84-2, it is my determination that this matter does not affect counties, and therefore voting shall be by voice. And I'll proceed to put the question. That pursuant to Standing Order 27-6, the Senate resolves that the debate on the motion on the presidential address shall be limited to a maximum of 3 sitting days with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, excluding the mover in moving and replying, who shall be limited to 30 minutes in either case, and the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader shall be limited to 30 minutes each. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next, Order Clerk.
Order number 11, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 46 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act and for connected purposes. Order number 12, the Nuts and Oil Crops Development Bill, Senate Bills number 47 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to provide for the production, processing, marketing, and distribution of nuts and oil crops and their products, establish the Nuts and Oil Crops Board, provide a framework for the nuts and oil crops farming development and for connected purposes. Next order. Order number 13, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment number 2 Bill, Senate Bills number 52 of 2023. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Constitution of Kenya. Order number 14, the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 33 of 2023, second reading.
Thank you, Honorable Senators. On this bill, this is a resumption of debate which was interrupted on Thursday, 30th November 2023. And from my records, Senator Andy Okech and a balance of 2 minutes. So if you are intended to proceed with 2 minutes, please do. Senator Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm actually happy to see you. Happy New Year. And I hope that this year you can be a little bit generous to make it 4 minutes. Just because perhaps people did not understand what I said the other time, just to recalibrate.
Start driving, I'll see whether you are engaging the writing gears.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill actually seeks to make a number of amendments to the Water Act 2016, and I did raise before that I had serious concern with this bill, because if you look at Part 2 of Schedule 4, if you start with Index 10, where you will find that the counties are given the power to look at policy angles on water matters by the national government. And then if you were to look at Index 11, where water and sanitation services are purely devolved as functions of the county. And this bill is one of the bills that I wish that the entire Senate, or rather all senators, were in the House to actually look at this bill. The entire last year, Mr. Speaker, we spent a lot of time as the committee on, the CIPIC committee, dealing with issues of water in counties. And one of the things that we realized, Mr. Speaker, is that a lot of structures that have been put in place that tend to be national bodies have completely hampered the idea of making sure that water services is effective and efficient in counties. And this bill, Mr. Speaker, is one of those bills that actually seeks to claw back on devolution, Mr. Speaker. You know, if you look at section, I might not mention all of them because I have no time. I talked passionately about this bill before. But if you look at something like section 30, Mr. Speaker, it introduces water regulatory authority, which is a national body with so much powers that takes powers out of the counties. If you look at section 31, Mr. Speaker, it also introduced another water regulatory board whose membership and composition, Mr. Speaker, is purely negating the idea of devolution of water. If you look at section 65, Mr. Speaker, waterwork agencies are given more power on dealing with bulk water. And Mr. Speaker, the waterwork agencies have been at the core of making, WSPs, water service providers, Mr. Speaker, not be effective. If you look at how they take big loans, so the name of these WSPs, if you look at how they sit a lot of assets of these WSPs in their own balance sheets, Mr. Speaker, is all chaos that I think that our committee at CIPIC has been working tirelessly to be able to deal with and remove. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, if you look at section 119, Mr. Speaker, there is introduction of the Water Tribunal. And if you look at the membership, does not in any way empower counties in a sense. The membership does not make any meaning. I want just to invite senators that let us pay a lot.
Give him 1 minute. Only
Even 30 seconds. Mr. Speaker, I just want to invite the entire House that please keenly read this bill and do not allow it to go through, because water is life and it is one of the functions that devolved units have that we must give them full power to be able to control. Every suggestion that I'm seeing here is reversing those powers to the national government and make it impossible for devolved units and county governments to take control of water service provision. So, Mr. Speaker, I oppose this bill in its entirety, and I hope that senators will take time to actually read and discern it and understand it and make meaningful decisions when it comes to this bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddy, you know, as a registrator, you have all the powers to come up with the possible amendments that maybe you might like the Senate to consider, that you have that benefit. You have gone through the report keenly. So come up with those amendments or the issues that you need to be revisited. Then we can consider as the House. Next is Senator Manzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, water is a devolved function. And the Minister of Water directs the policy, and the current Water Act of 2016 was actually due for amendment. And the Department of Water has been struck by a lot of confrontations with the stakeholders, and that's why their regulations never went through, and in fact they ended up in court. And right now there's a lot of confusion. And you see, regulations come from the Act. Now that the Act is going through regulations, amendments, and we have just received this Act now from National Assembly. Now that's a devolved function, it has come to us. It would have originated from us or would have originated from every house. It is very important that we make sure that devolution is taken care of in this Act. Unfortunately, most of the amendments which are really mangled up, and a very professional job was most probably not done on this, it is important to look at each section with a lot of keen interest. When you go to the practicality of its implementation, there are a lot of issues. Mr. Speaker, in my county is Twake Dam, which should have been completed years ago. But out of mismanagement and the Ministry of Water and the Ministry of Finance, Treasury, there has been postponement year after year of the completion date of this particular dam. The contractor is actually very frustrated, having not be able to work alone, as to work with the ministry, and for especially money delays. As soon as there was a new government and on the rearrangement of budgets, 5 billion shillings were removed from this project, which is internationally funded. It's not funded from here. And by the time we got that money back to Twake Dam project, another 1 billion was removed again, by National Assembly Budgeting Committee. And this keeps on creating confusion. First of all, change of administration. When there is change of administration ministers, the government enjoys perpetual continuity. There is no way, when there's a new government, such a serious project will be interrupted. And this goes into a lot of other things which has happened with the Ministry of Water. Hence, the regulations which should have come to this House never did, went only to National Assembly, purported to have been implemented, and then stakeholders went to court for lack of proper public participation. And the court is insist of the matter. But there has been a proposal that so that the sector stops suffering, that parties come together, we register consent, because this house has also been sued. We register consent so that there may be continuity in the country. That is avoided when you make proper law to begin with. And just as Senator Eddy has said, there are so many introductions into this law which reverse the gains of devolution to the national government. In fact, the Constitution has already directed that water services are devolved, and the government can only, the national government can only give, basics, principles on which, or the policy on which this will be implemented. So when you look at many other failed water, projects, like the Northwest water going to Emali, there's been a dispute between Kajiado County and Makueni County, simply because there's no proper legal framework, nor are there proper regulations. This results out of, when you make a law like this, you don't do stakeholder consultation, public participation, and public participation has become what is in mind of a certain individuals. Public participation should be standard. In fact, I remember in the last House, in the National Assembly, we had a public participation bill, which never saw light of the day as the House expired and has never been, restarted again, which is dealing with a very important area of legislation. When we make law, public participation is so critical. But what do we have in this Water Act? We have cosmetic public participation, just for the records, so that it can come to the House, receive a rubber stamp, and proceed to the executive for another signature. So I think we have to take this legislation seriously. And on this particular one, a proper job has not been done. I agree with Senator Okech. This act should be either thoroughly amended, or failure of which it should be sent back to be redone afresh. It does not seek to achieve the purpose of making sure water is supplied to every household in this country. The original plan was to have water, a tap, in every house in the rural areas and in Nairobi. Does that happen in Nairobi? No. Despite the big dam, there are so many cartels, some which break the water pipes and then supply water illegally. That has not been sufficiently catered. Why in Nairobi, with a big dam supply water in Nairobi, there will be insufficient of water? Why do we have more water trucks selling water instead of having the county government of Nairobi supply water and get paid for reasonably in every household? It is the failure of the law. And these amendments have not addressed that problem. These amendments have not devolved these functions to the county of Nairobi and any other county. And therefore, we have a problem that there are more water vendors and more water trucks selling water whose quality is not even certified to Kenyans. And you see, supply of water is what reduces diseases by even more than half if you have proper supply of water in this country. And Dr. Raila will agree with me, then half of the people visiting the hospitals would not do so. And even half of the children die out of dirty, situations of water will not die. And we will cut our budgets far, by, prevention is better than cure. In the hospitals, instead of going to cure people, we will have prevented it by supply. So this is a very important law and cannot be taken as a joke in this house. The way it has been handled in the National Assembly is a joke. It has to be amended thoroughly. It has to take care of the people. It has to go through public participation. Otherwise, we'll end up with another law where Omtata goes to court or any other water stakeholders. As a year now, they are already in court. They are fighting many things. They have been to our committees. They have not been listened to. They have made the petitions here. These petitions will no longer...
There is nothing to bring home. Their children are part of those ones who are sent away from schools because they cannot afford to pay school fees. They cannot afford even medical cover for their own families. They cannot afford most basic needs for themselves and their families, yet they play very important roles. It is unfortunate, and it is shameful for us as a nation to continue misusing the services of such persons in society, and yet we are Parliament. We do the budget. We appropriate money to different sections or to different institutions, to different items. We are the house which appropriates budget. And it is us, the legislators, the same people, who will still go back to our communities and still engage these village elders. And yet, all these years, since independence, there is nothing decisive which has been done for our village elders. Madam Speaker, how I wish this government, under the bottom-up economic model, will realize the importance of those village elders, because they are at the bottom of the pyramid, and it is high time they are elevated to status and to have a status in society and recognized. And I want to thank the honorable member, Honorable Malulu Injendi, for bringing this particular bill, so that the services of the village elders are enshrined in the national government, and in that case, they will be able to be remunerated, so that at the end of the day, they are like other Kenyans. The remuneration for a village elder, Madam Speaker, is a human right, and so far, since independence, their rights are being violated. It's high time members of Parliament, honorable members of Parliament, rectify this anomaly, so that at the end of the day, they take something home at the end of the month, or they are given a stipend. And it is not asking so much. It is not a lot of money. I think it is just nothing it's a small percentage in the national government budget. So I think it is very important that we look at that and take this bill to its conclusion, so that it is enshrined and they start earning something. Madam Speaker, in my constituency, the only thing which you can identify with them is the uniform. They have a uniform, and they don't even have soap to clean that uniform. And they are supposed to be attending functions. They are called in every time. Whenever there is a national function, they show up. How some of them, even because of wearing the same uniform for many years, you will find that the color has changed. Some have even patched uniforms. How shameful it is for very honorable ladies and gentlemen standing with a uniform which is tatters. Some even have different colors. The top has changed color because of wearing it for a long time. the trousers maybe are having different colors, Madam Speaker. Don't you think that is an embarrassment? Even if there will be bits and pieces of this bill which needs to be, maybe to be flesh to be added or to be rectified, I think we are ready to walk this journey and make sure that this bill is concluded so that the village elders are given dignity. For those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support this bill in totality, and I thank my brother here, and I hope that one day those village elders will have something to take home to their families every time, like those Kenyans who are getting salary. Even with the case of we have affordable houses, how I wish they would have something so that even them, they can purchase houses for themselves. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The March member for Moiben, the Honorable Nabwera Nabi, member for Lugari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, may I declare that I support this bill, and I want to congratulate Honorable Malulu Njendi, and remind the House that it is through little things that we change society. Peter Porter, a renowned change manager for institutions, had this to say, that when society is evolving, you must accept the past mistakes you have made. And one of the past mistakes we have made in this country is to have people working for us and we don't pay them. And these people are called village elders. Madam Speaker, I want you to figure out this, that on a typical day, a village elder is involved in mobilizing people for development. A village elder is relied upon on security matters. A village elder is the person everyone else goes for any information he wants in society. Number 4, a village elder is that wise man, when there is a dispute on land, we will refer to for him to give us information. And yet, this is a person who works for free. He's not even recognized. One of the days, Madam Speaker, I went into a baraza by the DCC, convened to mobilize people against illicit people he relied on. Were not even his chiefs, were not even the assistant chiefs. He was pointing out every village elder, what is happening in your area, what is happening in your village. And yet, the people who earn money, the assistant chiefs and chiefs, were seated there. What does that mean? That the person who has the information, that the person who is credible, that the person you can rely on is that village elder. Madam Speaker, if this country can recognize and regularize CHP, community health promoters, what will it cost us to recognize and appreciate and pay for the services of a village elder? If you were to go to my village, the only person who would know a new person who has come to that village is a village elder. I can tell you, even this war against terrorism, the moment we entrench the village elder into the structure, formal structure of national government, we will be able to deal with it. Because they know everybody in the village. Madam Speaker, the country is going through a very difficult, actually the whole world, a new generation, the bubble generation, where even education, we have to motivate our own children to go to school. If we want to realize the Millennium Goals on education, we must entrench, formalize in the structure of national government the village elder, because he takes care of the smallest unit of an administrative unit, and because he knows everyone, the youth, the children in that community, he will help us to ensure that every child goes to school. Madam Speaker, I've had arguments that it would be very costly. I have an opportunity to serve in the Public Accounts Committee. I'm only saying, if we were to cut corruption by 1%, we have enough money to pay the village elders. So it beholds upon this House to put in place systems and structures that will ensure there is no corruption in the country, and we will have much more money to pay the village elders. Madam Speaker, in a generation where we want everyone else to be dignified, what is dignifying in somebody working for you for free? You at the end of the month, you work to earn a salary, the way the DCC does, the way the ACC does, the way the chief does, the way the member of parliament does, and the man we rely on the ground is not earning anything. It is not dignifying at all. For those reasons, Madam Speaker, I want to support the motion. Thank you.
The Honorable Gitari, member for Kirinyaga Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. On start, let me thank Honorable Ijedi for bringing this timely bill in this parliament, and I want to support this bill. Madam Speaker, the village elders play a key role in the community, because even the chiefs, assistant chiefs, and even the provincial administration depends on them on issues on security, issues on like things like illicit proof, the people who are preparing. Madam Speaker, it was alluded that about 100,000 Form 1 Kenyans have not gone to Form 1, but by use of the village elders, they have been able to bring all the names to the relevant offices. They play a big role in our community. Madam Speaker, I want to echo the efforts done by village elders in Kirinyaga Central. Madam Speaker, in about a week's time, a gun was stolen from a police post called Kabonga Police Post. And that gun was being used to terrorize people in Kirinyaga Central area of Kagumo. And through the efforts of the village elders, they gave information to the administration, and this gun was recovered from wherever it was. Madam Speaker, in the last 2 weeks, you have seen about 13 people lost their life in Kirinyaga County of a illicit brew, and we are doing the burial on Saturday. And with the effort of the village elders, we were able to identify other bands. So what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, in the 10th Parliament, we brought this bill, but they did not see the end of the day. But what I'm saying, because they are supposed to be given stipend, it is possible and it can work. Just like the medical people who are going around with the, I can't remember the name they use, they get a little stipend the government should set some part of the budget to recognize these people. Madam Speaker, these people are suffering in the villages and they are doing a kill-all. Today, nobody can steal a chicken from the area and live in the same area. And if they see somebody has disappeared for a long time, they will take him as a suspect. They pray a kill-all. I support Madam Speaker, and I hope this bill will go to the other bit. And I believe, because our government, the Kenya Kwanza government, is a government of hustlers, even the president will consider this. I support.
Ogitari, the Honorable James Nyikal, member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, this is an extremely important debate. The village elders are the feet on which the government is working on the ground. Without them, there is no link with the communities. They are in all areas, Madam Speaker. In security, they are the first port of call. If anything goes wrong in a village, they're the first people who know. They are the first people that the village people will run to. Madam Speaker, if there are strangers and suspicious occurrences, the village elders will actually be the first to point out. Even when there has to be investigations, whether you bring the police investigators, whoever you bring, the first port of call is always the village elders. They are actually responsible for harmony in our villages. There's minor disputes, people who have stolen chicken, people who are fighting, even children who have fought, somebody's animals have grazed in somebody's farm, things that would actually be a big problem. The people who saw those are the village elders.
Apple Music Country.
So, Madam Speaker, they are the people that take care of our harmony. Even the health workers, Madam Speaker, we have agreed, we have put a law, we are going to pay the health workers. But even the appointment of the health workers, even the law we have put in place, we are going to rely on the village health workers. Even the health workers, when they community health workers, the village elders are the people they work with. Even in our economic development, we put in place very important programs, and without the village elders, we can't. Now, look at three main programs we have put in this country. We are talking of education, the funding of education in schools, particularly university. We are talking of health insurance, social health insurance. We are talking of social protection. And there's one thing we are all saying we are going to use to implement this. And Madam Speaker, that is means testing. Identifying who should be supported with school fees at what level when they're going to university. Who should be supported with the payment of social health insurance. Who are the indigents that the government should pay? Who takes us to these people? It is the village elder. Madam Speaker, when we have new programs, even agricultural programs, who do we go to? Is the village elders. So, Madam Speaker, there is no way we can do without the village elders, and we have relied on them for a long time. But, Madam Speaker, we have not looked at their conditions of work. These people are called out at night. Do they even have spotlights that they use? These people, they use their own money to buy their shoes. They are taken into areas when there are floods. These are the people use. Do they even have boots? Do they have even protective gear? My colleague was saying they have uniform. That may be in some place who somebody decided to give them a uniform. But there's no laid down structure even of giving them that. So we need to actually support these people. We need to compensate them. They need a stipend, and these people, when they are sick, they can't afford. To me, when we are going to have indigents that the government pays for, the first people we should look at are actually village elders, so that they get their health insurance done. When we have bursaries, at least in my constituencies, I try get the village elders. They can't be pointing out to you children who need support and theirs are not taken care of. So we need to support them when they need bursaries. I support this bill, Madam Speaker, because it is trying to put in place some structure that will organize these people. They are proposing councils and they are also supporting village administrators. I quite agree there is need to support them. But there's an issue that we'll have to face in the implementation. Many times, Madam Speaker, we have very good programs, but at the time of implementation, we don't do the necessary coordination. Like when we are going to form, to get the village administrators and the village councils under this, how do we coordinate that with the county government structures where they have the ward administrator, they have the village administrator, they have a village council? Which council will be doing what? If you are not careful, that is not going to work. Even community health workers, when putting these structures in these councils, how are we going to manage that? So, Madam Speaker, as we support this, I think at the time of implementation, we need very clear regulations, we need very clear structures so that their work is not, there is no conflict on what they are doing. My view, actually, we should look at them in the first instance at a team that will be dealing with dispute resolution in our villages. So if we support them, let's put these structures in place. Let's look at coordination where they don't clash with the county governments. My colleagues have talked about cost. Cost will always be there. But I believe I know, when I looked at this bill, it was said this is a money bill, which means it has passed through the budget committee. Therefore, somebody must have actually done some work and costed what it will cost us as a country. I think it is what we need to do that comes first, then cost follows, we look for money. With that, Madam Speaker, I support this bill. We may make some amendments, particularly in the areas of how they link with the county structures. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Melly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill. This bill by Honorable Malulu is very, very important. Madam Speaker, village elders have performed very, very important roles. They have performed judicial functions. They arbitrate cases in the villages. They actually maintain law and order. They are security personnel. They are the individuals who move up and down at night looking for criminals. They are actually the initiators, the fabric that holds the Kenyan society. They are the family, they even mediate in family disputes. A village elder implements government programs and policies. As you talk now, we are telling chiefs 100% transition. It is the village elder who knows every child, every home that has a child that has not gone to school. It is the village elder who, in itself, runs the base of the country. When you talk about issues of government, issues affecting agriculture. The other day we were registering farmers, and the chief relies on the village elder to register the farmers on the acreage of land, on the fertilizer distribution. It is the village elder who does the activities, takes around the health, what do you call it, the CHF, the CHS individuals in the villages. So essentially, when we say that these people need to be paid, it is not about that the government is these people are not providing a service. These individuals have been providing this very essential service, Madam Speaker, yet they are not being recognized, they are not being paid, they even stick out their neck to identify through Mijikumi individuals who causes trouble in the society. So if we are actually arguing about the cost, Madam Speaker, then first of all, let us quantify how much these people have given us. Let's quantify. Yes. So
it's called Nyumba Kumi.
Yes,
but not Miji Kumi.
Yes, Nyumba Kumi. Thank you for that, Madam Speaker. So I'm so emotional on this because these are the people who takes care of us. Even why we are here, these even members who are here, we have the village elders who are taking care of your various villages. They report back to the chief, to the assistant chief, who earns a salary. Yet the effectiveness of a chief hinges on the village elder. There is no chief who is effective or assistant chief who is effective without the village elder. I want to agree with honorable member for Dr. Nikal on the issue of structure, on the issue of roles between the county government ward administrator, the county government village administrator, and the national government village elder. But on that basis, Madam Speaker, this village elder is able to advise and link the county government and the national government seamlessly. We are not going to have an issue of structure, of enforcement, because he has been doing this throughout. When the county governments want certain functions to be done, they all go to the village elder. When the chief, the DC, and everyone wants to identify, like the other day, they assisted a lot in my constituency on controlling illegal brews. Illegal brews in all the villages. It is this guy who does it. Yet the chief reports, but the implementer is the village elder and the Mijikumi. So, Madam Speaker, I want to tell this House that the issue of payment, the issue of cost cannot arise. Yet, the services of these individuals have actually been going on for all this time. If we think the village elders are not important, then if we think they're expensive, let us also tell them not to be there. Then you can see the mayhem in the society. You can see the problems that we are going to have in the society. I support, and I want to ask members that let us support this bill. Let us pay the village elders. It is not expensive. It is paramount. I support. Thank you.
Honorable Abdul Haro, member for Mandera South.
Asanti Mheshimiwa Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii kuweza kuchangia mswada huu muhimu ambao ni kuhusu ratibu wa serikali kuu, marekebisho ya sheria kuhakikisha kwamba wazee wa mitaani wameweza kuzingatia katika sheria kuhusu ratibu wa serikali kuu. Na pia ningependa kuchukua fursa hii kumshukuru Mheshimiwa Malulu Injendi kwa kuweza kuleta mswada huu wakati huu ambapo nafikiri ni muhimu zaidi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Wazee wa mitaani ni nguzo muhimu sana katika jamii yetu sisi kama Wakenya, na wamekuwa wakichangia katika sekta yote ya jamii zetu katika nchi hii. Hata wakati tuko na majanga kama vile janga lililotokea pale Embakasi, ama majanga ya mafuriko kama vile tulikuwa nayo wakati wa El Nino juzi, wazee wa mtaani wamekuwa ndio kama katika laini ya kwanza ya ulinzi ili kuhakikisha kwamba usaidizi ama msaada ambao umetolewa na serikali ama na vikundi ambavyo visikuwa vya serikali vimeweza kuwafikia wale ambao wanahitaji msaada ule, kwa sababu wale wazee ndio huwa wanatumika kuwatambua wale ambao wameathirika zaidi, na pia ndio wanatumiwa kuwatambua wale ambao wanafaa kusaidiwa wakati janga kama hilo linapotokea. Na hata katika hali ya usalama, hasa sisi ambao tunatoka sehemu ambazo ni za wachungaji, ama sehemu za watu ambao wanahamahama na mifugo zao. Tumekuwa na changamoto nyingi za usalama kuhusiana na malisho na kuhusiana na maji ambayo mifugo zetu wanakunywa, na wakati mzozo kama huo unatokea, hawa wazee wa mtaani wamekuwa katika safu ya mbele kuhakikisha kwamba tumepata utangamano na tuko na amani na tuko na usalama katika sehemu zetu za malishoni na jamii zetu zinaendelea kuishi kwa amani. Kwa hivyo kuwatambua wazee hawa, manake kila siku nenda siku rudi, hawa wazee watakuwa wanafanya kazi ya kusaidia serikali, watakuwa wanasaidia kufanya kazi ya kusaidia jamii, na wanafanya kazi ya kusaidia idara zisizokuwa za serikali, lakini kazi yao huwa ni kazi ya kujitolea. Hakuna wakati wowote ambapo pengine wanapewa mshahara ama hata kiinua mgongo. Na hata ukiangalia katika idara zetu za mahakama, nafikiri wazee hawa wamechangia zaidi katika kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na haki inatendeka kwa Kenya wote, kwa sababu wamekuwa wakishirikiana kusuluhisha kesi nyingi ndogo ndogo ambazo zingekwenda mahakamani na pengine zingeweza kujaa huko kotini na kuchelewesha makesi zingine nyingi, na pengine watu wengi wangekaa miaka mingi bila kupata haki yao katika idara za mahakama kwa sababu ya kuchelewa kwa hizo kesi wakati zinakuwa nyingi. Kwa hivyo hawa wazee, mimi nafikiria wanachangia kuhakikisha kwamba pengine hata 50% ya kesi ambazo zingekwenda mahakamani ni kesi ambazo wazee hawa wameweza kuzisuluhisha katika sehemu zetu za mitaani, na mchango wao huo mkubwa ni lazima tuhakikishe kwamba unafidiwa. Na ndipo saa nashukuru Mheshimiwa Malulu Injendi kwa kuleta mswada huu ili kuhakikisha kwamba yale ambayo tutakubaliana kuwalipa hawa wazee inawekwa katika sheria, na kuhakikisha kwamba ile sheria inatumika kwa vizazi vya leo na vizazi vya kesho. Na kuhusu gharama ya wazee kama hawa, mimi nafikiri nchi hii tuko na pesa nyingi ambayo tunaweza kutumia kiasi tu kidogo kuweza kuwapatia wazee. Kwa mfano, tuko na sublocation 1945 katika nchi hii, na hiyo sublocation kila moja iko na mtu anaitwa assistant chief ama chief mdogo. Tukisema tu wale wazee wa mtaani pengine 3 peke yake waweze kusaidiana na chief mdogo 3 peke yake, na tuwalipe shilingi 1500 kila mzee kwa mwezi, hiyo ni shilingi 135 kwa mwezi, na pengine ukiangalia kwa mwaka ni bilioni 1.6 peke yake kwa mwaka. Na katika nchi ambayo tumewahi ambiwa hapo mbeleni kwamba tunapoteza shilingi bilioni 2 kwa corruption kila siku, pengine kuwalipa hawa wazee shilingi milioni 1.6 kwa mwaka ni jambo ambalo nadhani itakuwa ni jambo zuri sana kwa nchi hii, kwa wale wazee na kwa Wakenya wote. Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa. Honorable members, I would like to welcome seated in the speakers gallery students from Koa Boys High School, Koinon constituency, Bomet County. And on the public gallery, students from Tenwek High School, Bomet Central, Bomet County. You are welcome to the National Assembly. Honorable members, the next opportunity goes to the Honorable Paul Mwirigi, member for Igembe South. And I take note that we have 2 members whose cards are not working, the Honorable Mwangi Kiunjuri and the Honorable Anthony Mupe. Please be patient.
Asante
You may
sana.
proceed, Honorable.
Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi hii pia nami kuchangia huu mswada, na pia nimpe kongole Mheshimiwa Ijendi kwa kuona inafaa au wazee waweze kushughulikiwa, na kwa hivyo nasimama kuunga huu mswada mkono. Bi Speaker, hao wazee Bi Speaker wanachangia pakubwa katika vijiji vyetu kuhakikisha ya kwamba kuna usalama wa kutosha, na pia wakati ambapo serikali inafanya kazi kule chini, hawa wazee wa nyumba 10 ndio wahusika wakuu. Na kwa hivyo kwa ile kazi ambayo wanaifanya, kazi kubwa na kazi ngumu, ni vizuri sisi tukiwa viongozi na wabunge ambao wanatengeneza sheria tuweze pia kusaidia hawa wazee ili baada ya mwaka wao ama baada ya mwezi wanaweza kupata hela ambazo zitaweza kuyakidhi mahitaji ya familia zao. Utakuja kugundua, Bi Speaker, baadhi ya hao wazee wa nyumba kumi, wengi watoto wao wanakuwa na shinda nyingi ama shinda kubwa kuweza kupata elimu bora, ila hali hao wazee ndio ambao tunatumia kule vijijini ili waweze kuhakikisha ya kwamba kila mtoto ameweza kujiunga na shule. Vile vile, Bi Speaker, hawa wazee kule vijijini tunawatumia kuhakikisha ya kwamba kuna amani, na pia wale wahalifu ambao wanatekeleza uhalifu kule, hawa wazee ndio tunatumia kuweza kuwatambua. Saa zingine wanahatarisha maisha yao, sababu wale wauza miandarati ama madawa za kulevya, wale ambao wanawajua sana ni hao wazee, na wakati ambapo wanapeana ujumbe ya kwamba wahusika wakuu wa uraibu wa miandarati, Bi Speaker, wakati ambapo wanaibua ile ripoti ama ile habari, hao wazee wanakuwa katika shinda. Na kwa hivyo ni vyema sana hao wazee waweze kuangaziwa na serikali ili kila mwezi waweze kuwa wanapata angalau kitu ambacho kinaweza kusaidia familia zao. Pia na wao wakati ambapo wanafanya hii kazi wawe wanafurahi kuifanya, na pia ili vijiji vyetu viweze kuimarika hata zaidi, sababu wakati ambapo watakuwa wanapata zile hela watafanya kazi watakuwa wamepata motisha ya kufanya kazi hata zaidi. Kwa hivyo kwa hayo machache, Bi Speaker, naomba kuunga na niwatakie wananchi wa Gembe South siku njema ama siku ya kusherekea ya wapendanao. Asante sana, Bi Speaker.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Murigi. Mheshimiwa Mwangi Kiunjuri, mbunge wa Laikipia East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I start support this very important amendment, and I thank Mheshimiwa Ijendi for his effort. I'm happy that all members who are contributing have seen the value of our village elders. Madam Speaker, village elders existed. They have been existing time immemorial. From the colonial days, when the colonial government was set, they found elders established in their own villages. They recognized them and they worked with them. The successive governments that have been there, Jomo Kenyatta government, Moi government, Mwai Kibaki government, Uhuru Kenyatta government, and even the government that is serving us today, they have all recognized the role of village elders. They have been there in the system, and even the Bible, if you look at the book of Timothy, Acts 15, Acts 20, they recognize them as spiritual overseers of the flock. Meaning, even you go religiously, they are recognized. And I even hope that even in Quran, they are elders who have been there, who have worked for their people. These are people who are full of wisdom. They are respected in their societies. These are people who are problem solvers. They come in when there are conflict. They resolve them in the villages. And Madam Speaker, their role is already established. It is not that we are coming to look for a job for them to do. We are not establishing any parallel system that will conflict with any other existing system. Because as you speak today, County governments have their own system of administration. National government has their own system of administration. And when the national government want to know the truth, when intelligence want to correct any information, they do not rely on the chiefs. They rely on these village elders. They are the ones who give counsel. They are the ones who guide. They are the ones who are there to work closely with the sub-chiefs and the chiefs. And therefore, their role is already there, well cut. All what we are asking is that now that we are going to streamline them, because time has come, they have suffered enough. Why should you have somebody who is helping you, who is working for you, and you are not ready to give them anything in return? That can only be translated to be slavery. Why do you want to exploit them? That culture of exploitation must come to an end. Do you have systems that can be able to take care of them? Yes, we already have established systems like in intelligence and national security, where we have the National Police Reservists. They are paid and the system is there. They are picked from the villages. We have social protection fund. People are being paid, a system that is working. All what we are asking, because most of these village elders, and when I mean village elders, that's not mean that they must attain the age of 60. You can still become a village elder even at the age of 40, even 35. Because what we are looking for is how respected they are in the society and the wisdom. So again, when we come to looking at the parameters that must be looked at when recruiting them, because what will happen is that immediately we streamline, again the issue of corruption will come in. It will be now an issue of who is looking for a job, not for those who have been serving. And that must be observed clearly, that when we start employing them or give them stipends, because they must have allowances, in a way to appreciate them, that now corruption should not set in. There should be the traditions that have been existing, how they have been picked. Those people who have been giving themselves out to serve the community should be preferred. And this is not the time now to come and start firing those who have been existing, because a certain person wants his brother or sister or their supporters to come and serve. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the issue of cost should not arise. The issue of the role they are going to play should not arise. It is an issue of now recognizing and realizing that they have been exploited for a very long time. If you go back to your village, again, any conflict that is being solved, even if you go to the church today, the setup is about elders. Systems already established recognizes that they do exist. And therefore, Madam Speaker, this is the high time that we agree that these people have been there. It's a high time that we accept them as teachers, as counselors, as conflict resolvers, and therefore their role be respected and they be given the respect they require. Dignity must be accorded to them. And therefore, this is the high time this parliament resolves, and we should speed up this amendment so that it is put in place. The issues to do with the budget, already you can imagine the money intelligence services used every day collecting information. They have a budget. We have so many areas where we can search money and ensure that we pay the village elders. With those few remarks, I beg to support.
The Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, member for Navakolo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, allow me to
What is sort of order? Honorable Jared Okelo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and equally I did not intend to disrupt my very good friend who is on the floor. But Madam Speaker, I have noted that my brothers across the aisle have been given 4 slots consecutively. And in the spirit of equality, I hope that we are going to get 4 slots this side, because some of us have been here for the longest, waiting to contribute effectively to this most wonderful debate, Madam Speaker. So in the spirit of balancing, let me wait for the 4, and I will be part of those 4.
Honorable Jared Okello, I can tell the time that you walked in, and as soon as you walked in, you put the intervention button. So I appreciate that you have noted that, I'm sure it's not 4, but the fact is that members on my right, some of them arrived very early, and we normally follow the screen. I've made a lot of effort also, Honorable Okello, to recognize both sides, but the fact is that even on the screen now, those on the left are more than those on the right are more than those on the left. So please be patient. Proceed, Honorable Wangwe. Please proceed, Honorable Wangwe.
Give me the mic. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Due to that interruption, it has made my mic to shift to another cell, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I, on the onset, want to congratulate the member from Malava, the Honorable Moses Malulu Injendi, for thinking on behalf of this very vulnerable group. Madam Speaker, as we celebrate these people and support the motion, we also wish to celebrate our ladies who are dressed in this house black for the sake of the many Kenyan girls who have been affected in the recent past. I also want to join my colleagues that we really condemn the kind of activities and the arson that has been put to the girls. Madam Speaker, allow me to really appreciate the role played by this vulnerable group, commonly known as the village elders, who have been graduated, Honorable Speaker, to the title village managers without money, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, a title without money is empty. You could be called a very powerful title, but what matters, Madam Speaker, is what goes into the pocket. I want to support this motion, Honorable Speaker, that let these people, Honorable Speaker, who really play the very, very cardinal role in terms of information and even guarding the sovereignty of this country, Honorable Speaker, because without information, even the arson, the artillery that you have will not be of any use. You must have information so that you know where to attack and also know who is maybe planning to attack you. Madam Speaker, I want to cite an example from Navaholo where the area assistant chiefs fully rely on village managers for information. And in fact, Honorable Speaker, whenever we sit with them, they can easily bring you the senior village elder who will tell you the character of each and every person in a homestead. Actually, when it comes to distribution of information, these are the people who know who are these true Kenyans. Therefore, it's important, Madam Speaker, that we actually benefit from them at the same time enrich their pocket. Therefore, it's important, and I want to congratulate Mheshimiwa Malulu that he has not tied up, he has not grown tired. Instead, he has fought on from the 11th Parliament when he brought the first motion, Honorable Speaker. He brought it again the 12th Parliament, and successfully, Madam Speaker, he is now debating it fully in the 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, that only puts us to the choice that the best time is God's time, not your own time, Honorable Speaker. At the same time, we wish to ask the Kenya Kwanza government that, Honorable Speaker, this is now their time, the time to implement this very noble cause. The Honorable Speaker, they can now benefit from salvaging the otherwise very vulnerable section of the civil service, who are really civil servants without title, without benefits, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I wish to support this motion, and then we wish to clarify, Honorable Speaker, that let us not just put them on stipends. Let them be sure that this money will be coming, this money will be there for them. These are the people who are employed within the cadre of village managers, the way the county government is doing. Why should we, Honorable Speaker, be the national government, but our subject government, which is county government, is doing it better? They've already employed village elders, village managers in the various sections, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, it's good that we support this cause. We allow our government to make good and move in and see, Honorable Speaker, what happens. And finally, Honorable Speaker, as we undertake that these village managers take up the resources from the exchequer, it is important, Honorable Speaker, we also know how are we going to identify these village elders. Not every village elder is suitable for the job. Let us also classify and see at least some small tests to see that the person who is going to get that position
is a person also of good standing in the community. How are we going to select these village elders? So that, Honorable Speaker, we have a very vibrant section of leaders who are concerned with Kenyans. I beg to support, and I support once more. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Wangwe. The Honorable Anthony Mupe, member for Abai.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kuweza kunipatia fursa hii ya mimi niweze kuchangia mswada huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kusema kwamba nimesimama kuunga mkono mswada huu ambao umeweza kuletwa na Mheshimiwa Malulu. Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme kwamba mswada huu wa ubunishi wa halmashauri za vijiji chini ya wazee wa mtaa na wazee wa nyumba kumi ni mswada ambao kwa hakika ni mswada ambao hatua hii ni hatua ya kijasiri, ni hatua ambayo ni ya kuthamini na kutambua kazi ile nzuri ambao wazee wetu wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji wamekuwa wakifanya katika utawala na uratibu wa kitaifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba wazee hawa wa mtaa wamekuwa wakifanya kazi nzuri kule vijijini. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni wakati mwafaka hawa wazee wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji ama wazee wa nyumba kumi waanze kulipwa, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, hata DCC, ACC, chiefs na assistant chiefs wamekuwa wakitegemea sana hawa wazee wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji kuwapatia ripoti ya mambo ya usalama. Mheshimiwa Spika, nichukue fursa hii na ya kipekee kuweza kupongeza wale wazee wa mtaa na wazee wa nyumba kumi kutoka eneo bunge pamoja na machifu na assistant chief. Wamekuwa wakifanya kazi nzuri, kazi ya ushirikiano, na ndio maana unakuta kwamba mambo ya usalama yamekuwa yanatiliwa maanani sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme kwamba hawa wazee wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji kutoka jadi wamekuwa wakifanya kazi, na tunajua kwamba wako na familia, wako na watoto ambao wanataka kwenda shule, wako na majukumu. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, kazi zile zote nzuri ambazo zimekuwa zikifanywa na hawa wazee wa mtaa kwa hakika wamekuwa hawalipwi. Imefika wakati wa kwamba serikali ama kupitia kamati ya bajeti ndani ya bunge hili itenge pesa ambazo zitahakikisha kwamba wazee wetu wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji waanze kulipwa, maana ni Wakenya kama wale Wakenya wengine. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba shughuli zile zote ambazo zinafanywa na wazee wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji, mambo ya elimu, kama juzi wazee wote wa mtaa na wazee wa vijiji walikuwa wanaenda nyumba kwa nyumba kuhakikisha kwamba hakuna mtoto hata mmoja ameweza kuachwa nyuma, ili kuhakikisha kwamba watoto wote wameenda shule. Mimi nataka kusimama na kuunga mkono na kusema asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na ninaunga mkono wazee wetu wa vijiji na wazee wa mtaa walipo mshahara kama wale wa Kenya wengine. Asante.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Mohamed Ado ambaye ni mbunge wa Wajir South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I would like to thank the Honorable Malulu for bringing this bill, which is very, very important. And remunerating village elders will recognize the valuable role they play within their communities. They are mediators in every conflict and are also advisors to the community, as well as being the custodians of cultural knowledge, which is vital in the maintenance of order and cultural cohesion. Madam Speaker, there is always attempts, constant attempts to push members of parliament beyond the three main roles of legislation, oversight, and representation. Almost everything that happens in our constituencies are usually pushed onto our plates. And one thing I have done, and many others here have done, is send elders to go and deal with some of these burning issues. And every time they have done it with utmost diligence. That is the importance they have to our societies, and they play a very crucial role. And remunerating them will acknowledge the time and effort they pay in serving their communities. Remunerating them also, Madam Speaker, can help attract and retain people who are qualified for these roles. Many times, because of the abject poverty in many parts of this country, people who are very good at mediation and who have got a high standing within the society avoid these roles because they have to put bread and butter on the table for their children. If they are remunerated, we will be able to attract people who can do a much better job. That's something that is going to improve governance at the local level and ensure that cultural and social cohesion is at its utmost in rural Kenya. Besides, Madam Speaker, remunerating elders is also an act of poverty eradication, because most of these people are depending on subsistence farming, hand-to-mouth farming, and sometimes do not have any jobs or any source of income. In the Somali community, we have a proverb that says, where there are elders, nothing goes wrong. I believe it's time, as the people of Kenya and as the government of Kenya, we paid our elders and give them the respect they so much deserve. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Mheshimiwa Fatuma Masito, mbunge wa Kwale County.
Basi nimshukuru Madam Speaker kwa kuweza kunipatia nafasi hii, na mimi pia niwe katika kumbukumbu za bunge hili wakati hoja hii iliyoletwa na Mheshimiwa Malulu juu ya vile wazee wa vijiji wanavyotumika vibaya na serikali yetu. Wazee wa vijiji, Spika, ni watu muhimu sana. Mimi tangu nilipozaliwa nimeona wazee wa vijiji wakitufanyia kazi wasipochoka au bila kuchoka. Ni watu ambao wanafanya kazi, Spika, ya
seem to have the DNA of running with the DNA. So, Mr. Speaker, my pleasure.
Funds Committee to have audit review sessions with over 80 water service providers in this country. And my committee has done a wonderful job to try and deal with the challenges that we have noted. And the challenges are not just management challenges, but also we have other challenges which, if addressed, will be able to sort out the problem we have had with the water provision in our counties. In these review meetings, Mr. Speaker, we have noted that the water service providers in our counties were seen to be autonomous from the county government because the Ministry of Water was dealing directly with the water service providers and overlooking the county governments. But we have been able, Mr. Speaker, successfully to take away ownership of these water companies from the boards of those water companies to the county governments. And Mr. Speaker, this has had a great effect on the issue of provision of water. One example, Mr. Speaker, a county where water service provision was being managed badly was your own county, Mr. Speaker. The other one was Murang'a County, where cartels were running water companies without the involvement of county government. We have been able to take it back to the county government and made a raft of recommendations on how these water companies should run. Mr. Speaker, when I read this bill, all that efforts that we have done as a committee are going to waste. Because this bill tries to do the contrary. Mr. Speaker, because of the challenges that we noted when we were looking at the audit reports, we decided as a committee to do an inquiry on water investments in our counties. And we invited the regional waterworks companies. We have invited WASREP. We have invited WASPA, which is an association of water service providers. We have invited the Ministry of Water. We have invited the Treasury. We have invited the Attorney General. And Mr. Speaker, this Friday, we are going to have an engagement as a committee with the Council of Governors Committee on Water, where 7 governors are going to attend. And in this meeting, we are going to discuss what are the possible solutions of dealing with these challenges in the water sector. But Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that this bill is being rushed in this House, whereas a committee of this House is seeking solutions which it will bring to this House for debate. And this bill is running contrary to what we are doing. I want to give you an example, Mr. Speaker. We have the regional waterworks companies. We have the Rift Valley Waterworks,
Central Rift Waterworks, North Rift Waterworks, we have Northern Kenya Waterworks, we have Lake Victoria North and Victoria South, we have Coast Water, we have Tanathi, we have Athi Water. Mr. Speaker, I want to say in this House, following our engagement with this waterworks company, this regional waterworks company are a waste to this country. What they do, Mr. Speaker, is that they only sit there to write proposals to get funding from donors. Then once the money comes, they build water projects without the engagement of counties, and then they purport to hand over those water projects to counties, just a mere letter. And in those agreements, governors are not involved in negotiating those agreements. It's only the Treasury. The Ministry of Water is involved, but the counties are not involved. And then they come and build waterworks, then they leave them there idle, or they hand over to themselves. Mr. Speaker, we have found out that the loans that were taken by these water companies have never been repaid. Billions of money. They have never been repaid. But what this bill is doing is simply giving those companies more powers. More powers in bulk water supply, more powers in even doing what county water service providers are supposed to be doing. So as Senator Sifuna is saying, we are going to see a situation where water service providers in the counties are going to die. People are going to lose employment. And now, effectively, it will mean that the regional waterworks companies, which belong to the national government, will basically be doing 100% work of providing water in our counties. Are we going to sit here as a Senate to approve this fraud? Of course, no. Article 96 of the Constitution empowers us to protect counties. Mr. Speaker, and I want to implore my colleagues, if we pass this bill here today, we will basically be saying this country does not need the Senate. We better go home. If we can allow ourselves to pass this bill, that is the verdict the people of Kenya are going to say about us. Mr. Speaker, the issue of bulk water supply. Bulk water supply cannot be a national government function only. Allow the counties to develop capacities to do bulk water supply. But this bill simply limits that to the national government by giving that role to the regional waterworks authorities and the storage water authority. Mr. Speaker, when you talk about privatization, we all support privatization. But we must know that public-private partnerships are not cheap, they're expensive. So what we are going to see is a scenario where the cost of water is going to shoot up. It's going to go up. The moment we pass this bill, that is what is going to happen. Mr. Speaker, this House exists to protect devolution. But the biggest enemy of devolution in this country, and I want to say it today, is the bureaucrats in government. They are the ones who scheme to bring such bills to this House. If you are not careful, you pass them. But once you pass them, you are passing corruption. The billions of money that Kenyan people have been forced to borrow on those water projects that have not been paid, this bill is going to sanitize that. Mr. Speaker, I would request my colleagues, if you allow, that this bill be stood down. Allow the committee that was doing this work to bring a report to this House, read it through, see the challenges, look at the solutions, then we can look at this bill, and I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, you are going to appreciate that this bill is the worst bill I have ever seen since I started working as a member of Parliament. It will not just take water provision to the national government, but it's going to create worse problems in the water sector. When you say the regulation of water, which has been done by this WASREB, and we have had problems with the WASREB, because WASREB is regulating water, but is a national body which is being financed by water service providers which are in counties. They don't receive any budget from the exchequer. They don't receive any exchequer from the national government, but they are financed by the water service providers which are based in counties. And now you are saying that these people are now the ones who are going to license who provides bulk water, including private companies. And at the same time, they are being financed by county governments. Mr. Speaker, we have to relook at these things in totality and make the right decision, and I believe the right decision is total rejection of this bill. And we are not talking politics here, my colleagues from the other side. It is not politics. This is basically one devolution, which every senator here, regardless of which political party brought you to this house, you have a role to protect devolution. Number two, we do not want to be part of the mess that the Senate that passed this motion has created more mess in the water sector than resolving the problems. Mr. Speaker, allow us to go and handle the engagement with the COG and do a report.
Ni watu ambao wanafanya kazi Speaker
to deal with this challenge that we have before us because of having an engagement with over 80 water service providers and also the various entities in the water sector so that we give you the best way forward. Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Thank you so much. What is done is not acceptable. Because water is totally devolved function. We have got over 20 water agencies today in this country. Yesterday when I was talking here, we don't even know what they do. They use a lot of taxpayers' money. And as rightly said by my colleague Osisi, they get loans, the money is misused, and nobody is paying it. It is the taxpayers' money is actually being held in custody. And I don't know when we're going to pay that money. Now, the thing I'm seeing now, the only thing remaining to tax or to commercialize is the air we breathe. Because everything is being commercialized. It's not bad, but it's a natural gift from God. We don't object to commercialize it. But unfortunately, how it is done is not acceptable. Because water is totally devolved function. We have got over 20 water agencies in this country. We don't even know what they do. They use a lot of taxpayers' money. And as rightly said by my colleague Osisi, they get loans, the money is misused, and nobody is paying it. It is the taxpayers' money is actually being held in custody. And I don't know when we're going to pay that money. Now, the thing I'm seeing now, the only thing remaining to tax or to commercialize is the air we breathe. Because everything is being commercialized. It's not bad, but you must choose what you want to commercialize in this world, this country. And I pray that the air we breathe will not be commercialized. Otherwise, as it is, it's a very unfortunate situation. Honorable Speaker, water is life, an essential service. Because if you now commercial water, especially the bulk water, Kenyans are surviving on irrigation. The food that we take, the sugar that we harvest, everything is actually being used for irrigation is water from the rivers. If you commercialize this water, then food production cost increases, the cost of food increases, the accessibility to water becomes very costly. And this country, I don't know where we're going to end now. So, Honourable Speaker, there will be a lot of restrictions. You see, just take an example. Kenya Power Lighting has some dams around Embu, many places. Sometimes those communities goes without water. The water is in the dam, the next neighborhood does not have water. So if you don't want to commercialize each and every single cubic meter of water, then it's going to be very unfortunate. Honourable Speaker, that bill is actually in bad taste, and it should be rejected in totality. For one, I am coming from a pastoral area. Tomorrow when you say that the bulk water will be commercialized, my animals cannot access the river. We cannot afford to pay. We can't afford to pay water. Animals will die. Yeah? Because the rivers now will be restricted. The dams will be restricted. So we're going to miss water for animals. Because now it's been actually, we're complaining of drought and all these things. Tomorrow when water is commercialized, then I think the most disadvantaged people will be my own community who keep animals at large numbers. And about 20% of the Kenya now thrive on those animals. Therefore, you know, we have been told that we are going to build low-cost housing. A very good idea. Yes, that's so that Kenyans can access affordable houses. What is happening today? Houses have been demolished. People are missing their own houses. The houses, the same houses that have been constructed, is not going to the poor. It is not going to the owner of the house that you demolished. So what are you doing? So this is actually unfortunate, a very, very unfortunate situation. I think there's a lot of affinity for commercialization. Yes, we have no problem if it's going to bring development. But you must actually digest whatever action the government is going to take. And I want to tell our colleagues in the National Assembly, stop being renegade to this country, that they want to take and handle everything. And I said the other day, yesterday, when I said that the village is under attack, this is actually one of the things that's going to finish devolution. Because, honestly, you see, you are giving somebody who has never invested in any of the area. The rivers are flowing. The labs have been done in Wajir, done in Nyeri, in Muranga, and everywhere. Then somebody just comes with a bag of money, takes over the water, he benefits out of it and makes a business out of it, billions out of it. This is what's happening in the housing business. The low-cost houses, the government land is taken, it is not valued, it is not costed, it is just taken freely. Somebody builds a house, he sells to you again. So what are we doing here? Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I think, you know, I was just talking the other day, I was looking at a TV, what's happening now in Israel and Gaza. The Gaza cannot even access the rivers. So if you give to a commercial person these rivers and these dams you're talking about, then you will never access water again. You can see what's happening in Nairobi. We are thriving on water business. This city does not even have, the water is there, it's flowing. The water is there, available, but this is commercialized. So everybody has bought a water buzzer, the taps are closed, and then we're buying water at a very expensive cost, I mean a high cost. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Abbas. Calling upon Senator Muma Catherine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to speak to this bill. Mr. Speaker, we all know that water is a devolved function. Mr. Speaker, currently we have a number of water companies that have been providing services And Mr. Speaker, we need to be transitioning to a level where water services are fully devolved. This bill, as provided, is in bad taste, in my view. Mr. Speaker, when this government came in, one of the things they promised was to support devolution fully. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say to our team in the majority side that this bill does not support devolution. In fact, it reverses devolution. Mr. Speaker, I am a vice chair in the Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations Committee. One of the things we've been trying to do is to get a meeting with the national government department in charge of devolution to actually churn a way out in which we can establish better intergovernmental relations between national government and county governments. My suggestion is that this meeting is long overdue. I can see my chair, Honorable Abbas, is there. It will be important to pass some level of sensitization by the Senate to the national government around the issue of devolution. Otherwise, we will keep passing laws that are going to be stopped in courts. And then the courts will be under attack for failing or stopping the implementation of laws, and yet they will have done their job to protect devolution. Mr. Speaker, this law is one such law that requires that we have a proper conversation. It is purporting to bring in matters PPP, but this country has a law on PPP. A law that itself needs actually to be amended because it has...
Honorable Senators, we may rise. It is now 1 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 14th of February, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.